Hi, welcome to another virtual devotional. This devotional is going to be a little different because we're going to be talking about cocktail parties, particularly how not to be weird at a cocktail party. And I'm going to offer some tips for both extroverts and introverts. Now, you probably are right when you think that I'm an extrovert, and that's true most of the time. However, when it comes to cocktail parties, I definitely turn into an introvert. So I've asked a certain Englishman, my husband, to come and join me because even though he normally is an introvert, when it comes to cocktail parties, he definitely becomes an extrovert. So, introducing a certain Englishman, also known as Bradford. And you've gone to many cocktail parties.
I have, which is very surprising to me because, being an introvert, generally socializing, and being an introvert does not go well.
But he turns into a social butterfly, and he does an amazing job. So I thought, who better than to help give some tips than the master himself? So let's imagine you've been invited to a cocktail party. How do you feel? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you worried? Well, hopefully tonight we can give you some tips and ideas so that you won't feel weird at the cocktail party or make anyone else feel weird either. Now, when I'm talking about a cocktail party, I'm talking really about a networking party. These are large events, lots of people you don't know, and they're just called cocktail parties, but the reality is you're there to meet lots of people.
Well, yeah, it's to build relationships, build a network, and a network of relationships that are meaningful.
Not just a collection of business cards.
Correct.
Yeah. So, what we're going to do tonight is discuss 6 different tips to help you not be weird at a cocktail party. And the first tip really is before you even get there, and that's to set a goal. Now, for extroverts, the goal might be a little different than if you're an introvert. So, as an extrovert, what kind of goals do you set?
Well, lately I've been changing my focus and my goals to really be who can I serve? Who here? Because truly, it's still somewhat uncomfortable, and one of the ways that I can overcome that discomfort is focusing on other people and not myself.
So an extrovert can get really chatty, talk for a long time, and before you know it, you've talked to one person for half of the party. So some goals that might be a good idea for an extrovert is decide in advance, okay, I'm going to try to meet X amount of people, or I'm hoping to get X amount of LinkedIn connections, or maybe I want to introduce myself to this number of times or this many people, or hopefully I walk away with this many lunch or breakfast dates set up, or at least, kind of a soft appointment for or something. What's a reasonable number, would you say, for a cocktail party for you to come away with?
For me, I feel like if I have 3 to 5 business cards and relationships that have started, I'm doing pretty good.
That would be 3 to 5 more than I would get at a cocktail party. So let's talk about the introverts, people who don't really like to be there. For me, sometimes my goal is just, I'm going to stay for X amount of minutes. And if I'm going with this guy, I don't get to choose my minutes. I got to go home when he does. But if it's something where I'm going alone, I'll say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to at least give myself 30 minutes, and then after that, I have permission to go. Or sometimes my goal will be, you know what, I'm going to find out who's hosting this event, and I'm going to go up and personally thank them for having hosted the party. Or maybe I'm going to come up with a reward that I enjoy as for myself because I went to the party. So the party wasn't fun, but I'm going to come up with something fun to do because I went to the party. So that might be another goal. Okay, so tip number 2 is introducing yourself, and maybe what you can do is practice introducing yourself before you even go to the party so that you don't do it in a weird way once you get there. So for an extrovert, again, they can be really chatty, talk on for a long time. So it's good to keep your introduction short, concise, almost like an elevator speech, and be genuinely curious about who the other person is and show that interest in that person. And don't ask yes or no questions, but ask open-ended questions so that you can get better answers and more of a dialogue. And like you say, look for those who are alone. Who can you serve? Who needs some help? Like me in the corner, not wanting to talk to anyone.
Yeah, and so a lot of people who are there are uncomfortable. So you're generally not the only one. So be willing to extend yourself and more often than not, it's going to be received with openness and reciprocated.
Mm-hmm. So if you're an introvert, one thing to keep in mind about introducing yourself is keep it simple. You don't have to go into a huge long explanation as to who you are. It can be just simply, "Hi, I'm Heather."
"Hi, I'm Bradford. Nice to meet you."
"Nice to meet you too." Most people are going to respond when you go up and tell them what your name is. And so that's not weird. And the expectation is you are meeting a lot of people you don't know at these kind of events. So just simply announcing your name can be enough to introduce yourself to somebody. Especially if you find an extrovert who will be super friendly and get the conversation going, like you always do. Yeah. And I don't know if after the coronavirus we're going to keep doing this, but a handshake really does tell a lot about a person.
Yeah. So nowadays it's going to be, "Hello."
Yeah. "Hey,
"Hi,
nice to meet you."
I'm Bradford."
Knuckles. But make sure you've got a firm handshake if that's still socially acceptable after all this is over.
No dead fish.
No dead fish. Yeah. And don't forget that, and this is something I struggle with because I'm a really smiley person. I tend to smile a lot. But when I'm uncomfortable, my face definitely shows it. And so I got to remind myself, when I smile, I'm making others at ease, I'm being more inviting and more welcoming.
Yeah.
So put the smile on.
Smile goes a long way. And
even
again,
if you're not feeling
just
it.
extending yourself. "Hi, I'm Bradford.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you."
And answer the question completely. So, where are you from? Utah? Okay, can't do much with that. But if I say, well, I grew up in New Mexico and I've been living in Utah for the last 20 years, I've now given a little more of an opening and a little more opportunity for a conversation.
Yeah.
So one thing when I was getting my master's is my department chair used to always say this, and I thought it was really good advice, and that is, you never know where a handshake will lead. And I have found that to be really true. So don't prejudge who you should introduce yourself to. Be willing and open to introducing yourself to everybody. Even if it's the bartender or one of the servers, one of the caterers. Everybody is of value. Everyone is worth getting to know. And you never know where a handshake will lead.
Very true. Could lead to your next job. Could lead to helping others that you know who have needs find solutions.
But don't be on the prowl looking around going, who's going to help me? Who's worth my time? That's weird.
Very true. Yeah. No, it's about establishing relationships and with no preconceived expectations. Just be real, be present, be genuine, and be interested in the people that you're having a conversation with.
Okay, so for tip number 3, make horseshoes, not circles. And what I mean by that is think about the floor space, and if somebody could draw a line connecting all the people, would they draw a circle or would they draw a horseshoe? So let's just show everybody what a circle would look like if 2 people were talking. Okay, so we're having this conversation.
Talk.
Maybe we're being kind of serious.
Serious.
But
Funny.
It feels like nobody could enter this conversation group because we're kind of close. And we're squared off at each other, and it really would be awkward for someone to kind of join in. However, if we formed a horseshoe, then we're making it a little more clear that someone else could join this conversation. So that's what these parties are about. It's about multiple groups, ins and outs, stops and starts. So you want to stand in a way so that others would feel comfortable joining your group, whether it's at the table or just standing on the floor or around the food table or whatever. But don't talk around the food table. That's weird. But just think about horseshoes. That's really what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And going along with that is nonverbal communication goes a long way to make yourself not weird and to help others feel more comfortable. So here's some things that you really shouldn't do because it would make you feel weird or seem weird at the cocktail party. And this is one I do a lot and I've never seen you do, and that's I create shields around my heart. So the most vulnerable part of your body is the solar plexus, or where your heart is, and so I brought this wine glass just to kind of show as an example. One thing I will do is I will shield my heart or protect myself with my glass or whatever I have in my hands. And that is making me feel like I'm unapproachable or nobody could want to come up and have a conversation with me. So keep your this area open. Don't cover it. Don't cross your arms, because you want people to feel like you're open to having a conversation.
Yeah. And also, if you're open, that's a sign of confidence, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't block people, or don't block entrances or tables. So let's say I'm talking to Bradford here, and I position myself so that he's kind of trapped and can't leave the corner. That would make me weird, and that would make him feel uncomfortable. So be cautious of when you're talking to people that you're not blocking them. Also, let's pretend like this was the food table right here. I wouldn't want to stand in such a way that people couldn't access the food. Same with entrances or, things. Just always be aware kind of where you're standing so that no one's feeling trapped or it doesn't feel like you're blocking anything. And also, it's just good advice to not cross your arms, not cross your legs. Try to have as much of an open stance as you can so that people feel comfortable approaching you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about some things that you do right when it comes to nonverbal communication. And one is tilt your head to show that you're interested. So you just kind of engage, and my head just naturally tilts. Ask my hairdresser. Every time she tries to cut my hair, she's always straightening my head. So I have a crooked mouth. I have a crooked smile. I'm just kind of a crooked person. But at a cocktail party, it actually goes to my advantage because a tilted head shows that you're interested in someone and you're engaged in listening to what they have to say.
Tilted head, looking them in the eyes.
Yeah. And when you look at them, you want to really be facing the person and not looking off into the distance or distracted by other things. Right. Has that ever happened to you at a party?
Oh, yeah. And to me, and I've seen others, and even I'm guilty of doing it, and that's just kind of looking off to something else and not truly engaging with the conversation and the person that you're having that conversation with. It's just kind of, and your mind wanders off, and the other people who are involved, they know you're not tuned in.
Well, and they're probably feeling like you're thinking, okay, who else could I talk to in this room that would be more interesting than you are?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're scouting out for a better conversation or something. Yeah, that's weird. Don't do that. And then lean in to show that you're truly engaged and listening. And sometimes you have to because the party might be loud.
Yeah, oftentimes it is. People's voices raise up and it does get loud. Big environments, small environments, oftentimes it's hard, and so you do need to lean in.
And if you're hosting a cocktail party, don't have live music. Why do people do that? I don't get it. The whole point we're there is to have a conversation. I don't enjoy competing with a live band. I like live music, but not at a cocktail party. Anyway, just think about that next time. And then again, just try to keep your body language open, keep your legs open, have a wide stance, don't cross your legs, don't cross your arms, keep your shoulders open. It just shows that you're, like you say, confident, but also inviting and welcoming to people. Okay, so for tip number 4, this is the question I get all the time from my students. How do I end a conversation? And this can feel kind of awkward because you want to say goodbye to the person, but you're not leaving the party.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be. You can be very natural and easygoing.
So it's important to be honest. You don't want to lie and say, oh, I got to get going, or I think my mom's calling me, or, oh, I've got to leave, and then 15 minutes later you're still there. Go ahead and be honest and truthful. You don't need to lie. The expectation is you're going to have multiple conversations at this party, so it shouldn't feel weird that you're ending a conversation so that you can go on to have more conversations. That's kind of why you're there.
Yeah, and that's the worst. If you're not real, you're fake. Oh, I got to go. And you don't go, and then people come across you, you lose credibility.
That's happened to me before. So I know one thing that can happen, especially with an introvert like me at a cocktail party, is as soon as someone shows interest to me, I just kind of cling to them like, don't leave me. Now I'm going to talk to you for the rest of the night. And so I guess I'm what you call a clinger, and they're going to probably like, I was just trying to be friendly, and how do I shake you? How do I get rid of you? So there's ways to end the conversation, but you still want to be kind and friendly about it. And one way to kind of make it not so awkward is you can talk about the future. It was nice meeting you. Hope to see you again, or let's connect, or something like that. But the reality is you can keep the goodbye kind of short because, like I said, it's expected for you to move on and talk to other people. So you don't have to go into a long explanation as to why you're ending the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've prepared a few practice goodbyes that I thought I would try on the expert here. And I want to get his opinion of what he thinks of my goodbyes. So here's one. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope we can maybe continue talking about this over lunch sometime.
Yeah, that would be great. I've enjoyed our conversation too.
Okay, so what do you think of that one?
Very comfortable, very easy, very truthful. Yeah.
Just make sure I'm not asking you out on a date, or make it seem like I am.
Yeah.
Just don't be weird about it.
Right. Yeah. So again, that was very natural. It didn't feel like a date. Lunches are a very common thing to do.
And breakfasts are kind of becoming the thing too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It seems like you go to breakfast.
Yeah.
Business things quite
Yep.
often. Yeah. Okay, here's another one. So, could we connect on LinkedIn?
Yeah. I'd love to stay connected on LinkedIn. It's a great idea.
Okay, is that normal or was I weird?
No, it's very normal. And
Okay.
it's very appropriate. It's a common practice. Definitely something to do.
Okay. I'm going to go refresh my drink. Can I get you anything?
So, what do you think? I'm not a big fan of that because if you're trying to end the conversation and go elsewhere, inviting them to get another drink doesn't seem to end the conversation to me.
So the reason why I thought of this one is sometimes you get a clinger like me who's just talking because they want this night to be over and they don't want to have to meet anyone else. And it just seems like this would be a way to kind of stop the momentum and get them to kind of get out of their groove and say, hey, I'm going to go get a drink, and get them to kind of slow their roll. I don't know.
It does create a little gap, so it might work, but it might be an invitation to continue on the conversation.
Yeah, and then if you're a clinger like me, you might be like, I'll go with you to get the drink, and then you're like, that backfired. Okay, so here's another one. Well, let's see. See, I need to practice these because I don't like these. Well, it's been so nice to meet you, but I'm going to go ahead and mingle with some other people now.
Yeah, it sounds good. There's lots of people here. I'd like to meet some others too.
Okay, so that didn't feel like a rejection?
Oh no, because we're
See,
here.
I feel like I'm rejecting.
No, we're here to mix and mingle and network, meet other people.
So it's normal to say, I'm going to stop talking to you so I can talk to other people now.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one I thought of is, thank you so much for visiting with me, but I'm going to go ahead and let you mingle with some other people now.
Oh, thank you. That one I'm kind of so on. It's kind.
Is it a little too deferential maybe?
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I'm imposing on you.
But that's how I feel. I feel like I'm always imposing on people.
Yeah.
These parties.
So I would.
Maybe not so much.
Not so much.
Okay, well hopefully you got a few ideas on things that will work for you. As you can see, it's really uncomfortable for me to end conversations. He does it really well. He's really comfortable at it. Does a really good job.
So if you don't mind, excuse me, there's someone that I need to visit with before I need to leave the party tonight. So do you mind if I go and say hello to them?
Sure.
Okay.
In our house where no one else is allowed, you have someone you want to go talk to?
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. I like that one. As long as you're being honest, right?
Absolutely.
Because if I saw you beeline it for the bathroom, I would think that was a little weird.
Well, I would say, excuse me, I need to go use the restroom.
Okay, yeah. So just be honest, frank.
Yeah, it is. You need to be honest. There have been times, events where there are people that I want to and need to talk to, and so I have excused myself, and it's very appropriate. But again, be honest, be genuine, be who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so tip number 5 is really just looking out for each other as extroverts and introverts. And so here's some things I thought of to help out an extrovert. Because extroverts don't want to feel like they've made anyone uncomfortable or they're monopolizing or they're coming on too strong. As someone who's normally an extrovert, I know I definitely feel that way. I want everyone around me to feel comfortable, but I know sometimes I can be a little too blah, in certain situations. And so maybe what an introvert can do is let the extrovert know, you know what, I'm uncomfortable. This isn't fun for me, or I'm kind of out of my comfort zone here. And just let the extrovert know what you're feeling so that they can try to help you feel more comfortable. Or maybe you can just ask if you can help the hostess. Don't, if it's being catered, that would be weird. Don't ask to help. But, maybe there's a task or something you can do that makes you feel like you have a purpose. I know I have a friend who's an introvert, and he says, if I know that they need my help to clean up afterwards, I will stay to help clean up, and it gives me a reason for being at the party. And also just straight up ask an extrovert or someone who's comfortable to introduce you to other people. I don't really know anybody here. Is there anyone here you think you could introduce me to? I bet an extrovert would love to do that. You love to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as an introvert, if you have your goals defined, go up and ask someone, a friend or a connector. Say, hey, I really am looking to meet someone in this field or with this specialty. Do you know anybody here that does that? I would love to get introduced to them.
So, as someone who's feeling like an introvert, what extroverts can do to help out is, give them something to do, or give them an assignment, or think of a way that they can maybe help. If you're the hostess, maybe ask them to do something that would encourage them to be interacting with lots of people. Also, with an introvert, be sure you're not physically putting them in a corner or blocking them or invading their bubble. That's going to just make it worse, I think. And look for people to introduce them to, but stick around to make sure that connection sticks.
That is so helpful when someone provides an introduction of two people that they know and does more than just say, hey, Jack, Jill, you need to meet each other. That's helpful, but if you can add more to that, it'd be wonderful. Jack does this, Jill does this. I know both of you, and I know you'd mutually be benefited by knowing each other.
You both got concussions getting water and tumbling down hills. So you have something to talk about.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, the last tip really is about saying no to alcohol, particularly if you're, these devotionals are designed to be for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but really just anyone who needs to turn down alcohol. You don't want to be weird about it. And I had I've had an opportunity over the last 10 years to go to Paris a few times. I've lived in France for 2 different summers. And one of the things I've learned is the quickest way to get a waiter to be mean and rude to you is to tell them you don't want to drink their wine. And that's what I was doing. They'd offer the wine list, or they'd say, what wine do you want tonight? And I'd say, no, I don't want any. No, thank you. And they'd leave in a huff. And I couldn't understand why the French were so mean and so rude. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's French, and she says, the French identify their wine as being their culture and who they are. When you reject their wine, you're rejecting them. And she says, just tell them you don't drink alcohol and it'll be fine. So the last time I lived in France, that's what I did. I learned how to say in French, I'm so sorry, but I don't drink alcohol. And all of a sudden they were like, oh, well, can I get you some water? What else can I get you? And they were super nice. And so it really taught me a few things about turning down alcohol. And the first thing is they're being kind. I know I was raised as a teenager to kind of be warned, and it was, if someone's offering you alcohol, they want you to lead you down this road of debauchery. You're going to end up as an alcoholic. You're going to be drinking wine out of a paper bag in the gutter in the street. And that's not at all what's going on. Alcohol is expensive, and they're offering you a very generous and kind gift. So you don't have to be weird when they're trying to do something nice for you. And this isn't a time to be preachy.
True. Yeah, it's not time to be preachy. It's also very cultural. There's so much business that is conducted over alcohol. And so many people, that's all they know. And so they're not, trying to be the boogeyman and scare you and get you addicted to alcohol and all this. They're just being kind and gracious and doing what they know.
And this isn't the time to bring up D&C 89 or bear your testimony about the truthfulness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. This isn't a time to be pious. I love that phrase, always be teaching the gospel and use words if necessary. Words shouldn't be necessary. The light in your eyes, your demeanor, how you feel about God, and what your beliefs are should just emanate by who you are. So you really don't need to be preachy or spouting off scriptures to explain why you don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, it's just very simple. No, thank you. Do you have some lemonade that I could drink so I could, enjoy this conversation with you and have something to drink as well?
Yeah. And again, we don't really need to over-explain this. There's lots of people who don't drink alcohol that have nothing to do with being a member of our church.
True.
We have Muslims, we have recovering alcoholics, people who are don't like alcohol or maybe are allergic to it. There's tons of reasons not to drink alcohol, so we don't have to go into a long explanation as to why we don't.
Right. Absolutely. It's more common than you know, and there really is no pressure. I've been in a lot of bars and social events, networking events, where I don't drink, and nobody makes a big deal out of it. It truly is very accepted to not drink.
Yeah. And so the reality is, because they've offered you alcohol, you really should be showing gratitude, because they're trying to do something nice, and we can be gracious about it, and we can thank them even though we don't want what it is that they've offered.
Yeah.
And so it can really just be something simple like, oh, thank you so much, but I don't drink alcohol.
And,
done. Yeah.
And they're amazing people that drink alcohol. So you don't have to ooh,
yeah,
I can't associate with you. No,
yeah,
come on.
Because they're not sharing our same religious beliefs, and so we don't need to make them feel like they're less or there's something wrong with them just because they don't have the same health code that we have. Yeah, okay. Well, so let's just sum up those 6 tips again. We have, first, set a goal before you even show up. Think about what you want to accomplish by going to the party. Practice introducing yourself. Think about making horseshoes and not circles so that others feel welcome and that you're willing to invite them in to the conversation. And practice ending conversations and saying goodbyes in a polite and not in a weird way. And extroverts, introverts, look out for each other. Look to see who's uncomfortable or help people know that others might be feeling uncomfortable. And when it comes to alcohol, just say no and be nice about it. You don't have to be weird. You don't have to make others feel uncomfortable. So I hope that you get invited to a cocktail party soon, and I hope you go, and I hope you feel comfortable there and you don't feel like there's anything you need to do besides just be yourself, and just don't be weird.
Yeah, and then go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and it will get easier to do.
And you'll become like him. So we'll see you at the next cocktail party. Thanks for joining us.